This is Algebra 2, Unit 10, Lesson 8, on combining rational expressions with addition and subtraction. Now that we've done multiplication and division, we're going to move on to addition and subtraction of rational expressions. It is very important to understand that a fraction is a fraction is a fraction. It doesn't matter if it's numerical or algebraic. The rules still apply. When you are adding and subtracting fractions, the first thing that you need is a common denominator. You can't add unless you have a common denominator. Once you get the common denominator, then you add the numerators, keep the denominator. Now, when you change the denominator, you can only change by multiplying the overall fraction by 1. So if you're multiplying to get a common denominator, multiplying the denominator by some number, you also have to multiply the numerator by some number to get it equal to 1. Okay, so now that we know that, let's see if we can try this out. Combine each of the following fractions by first finding a common denominator. Express your answers in simplest form. Okay, so a fraction is a fraction is a fraction. We need a common denominator. We have 2x minus 5 over 4x plus 4x plus 2 over 6x. What can I change 4x and 6x into to get a common denominator? Well, I know that there's going to be an x in both of them. The tricky part is, what is the number going to be? What is the common denominator between 4 and 6? There's lots of them, but an easy one would be probably 12. All right, so let's make this 12x, and this one 12x. All right, now when you have a common denominator, you have to multiply the denominator by something to get it to be what you want. If this is 4x, what do we have to multiply it by to get it to be 12x? Well, we'd have to multiply it by 3. Now, you would also, if you do it in the denominator, you also have to do it in the numerator. So you have to multiply this by 3 as well. That's your 1. 3 over 3 is 1, so you're not changing the value. So what you do to the denominator, you must do the numerator. Okay, let me distribute here and get this. 3 times 2x minus 5. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 5 is minus 15. Okay, now over here, I have 6x as my denominator. I want 12x. So I'd have to multiply this by 2. And I have to also multiply the numerator by 2. Don't forget that there's the whole thing here. We have to multiply by 2, the entire binomial. 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, now the rules for adding fractions: keep the denominator, add the numerators. So technically this is 6x minus 15 plus 8x plus 4. Combine your terms, gives you 14x minus 11 over 12x. All right, now is that in simplest form? Is there anything I can cancel? No. I can't cancel the 2 out of the 12 and the 14 because I would have to divide both terms by 2, and 11 doesn't divide. So 14x minus 11 over 12x is your final answer. Okay, let's try the next one. 4x minus 1 over 5x plus x plus 5 over 10. What's my common denominator going to be? Well, let's see if I can figure this out. Number-wise, it's going to be 10. Okay, but also there's an x in the denominator, so that means there's got to be an x in both denominators. So this has got to be 10x, and this has got to be 10x. So what did I have to multiply 5x by to end up being 10x? Well, I'd have to multiply it by 2. And since I did the denominator by 2, I have to do the numerator by 2. So make sure you distribute 2 through the whole thing. Gives you 8x minus 2. Now this one, 10, I want it to be 10x, so I have to multiply by x. Make sure, again, you multiply the entire polynomial by x. So that's going to be x squared plus 5x. All right, now, keep your denominator, add your numerators. I can probably add these in order, so let's see. X squared, 8 and 5 is 13x, and then minus 2. All right, does that factor any farther? I don't think so. The factors of the 2 don't add up to 13, so that's as far as that goes. And that is my final answer. All right, one more. Common denominator. Well, my smallest number that I can make out of 4 and 2 is 4. And my smallest x that I can make would have to be x squared. I can't turn an x squared into an x, but I can turn an x into an x squared. Okay, so my common denominator is 4x squared. So I have to multiply this by x to get 4x squared. So I have to multiply the numerator by x. That gives me 3x. 2x squared, I have to multiply by 2 in the denominator, so I have to multiply by 2 in the numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. All right, so combining my terms, keep your denominator, 4x squared, 3x plus 2. And that's as far as I can go. And that is in simplest form. So, get a common denominator, keep it, add the numerators, combine and simplify. Now, the combinations that we just did were pretty easy because the denominator was a monomial. But when you are doing binomial or trinomial denominators, it's a good idea to factor the denominators before trying to find a common denominator. So, before we even start here, we're going to factor the denominator. This is going to be 4 over, how does this factor? 5 times y minus 3. Okay, GCF's out of 5. All right, and how does y squared minus 9 factor? Y plus 3, y minus 3. Okay, now my common denominator has to include anything that's in both denominators. So, what is in both denominators? Well, let's see. We know there's going to be a y minus 3 in both denominators. All right, because there's one here and there's one here. All right, there's a 5 in this denominator, so 5's got to be here, so 5's got to be over here. All right, now in this one we have a y plus 3, so y plus 3 has to be over here as well. So this is my common denominator, 5y minus 3 times y plus 3. Okay, now that I know what my common denominator is supposed to be, I need to look at here. I have this denominator as 5 times y minus 3. What's missing? It would be y plus 3, so I have to multiply here by y plus 3, top and bottom. All right, so I'm going to just write it up here. I'll combine them. I'll multiply them in a second. Well, I can do it right now. This is going to be 4y plus 12, because I have to multiply the 4 by both of these. All right, now over here, I have y plus 3, y minus 3. I want 5 times y minus 3 times y plus 3. What am I missing? Well, I've got to multiply this by 5, top and bottom, to get it to work, numerator and denominator. So 5 times 5 is 25. All right, so keep the denominator, 5y minus 3 times y plus 3, and then add the numerators. 4y plus 12 plus 25 is 4y plus 37. Yep, that's it. All right, now that doesn't factor anymore. There's nothing I can cancel, so that is my final answer. Okay. Let's look at B, common denominator. Before we do anything, let's factor the denominators so we can see exactly what we have. All right, now x squared minus 9x plus 20 is a double bubble factor. It's going to be x and x. If it's plus 20 and minus 9, it's going to be minus minus. Factors of 20 that give you 9 would be 4 and 5. Okay, and then plus. And I want to make factor this one. X squared minus 6x plus 8 is also going to be a minus minus. It's going to be minus 4 and minus 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. So that works. Okay, common denominator. Okay, we need what's in both of them. Well, both of them have an x minus 4. Okay, this one has an x minus 5. So this one's got to have an x minus 5. And this one's got an x minus 2. So this one's got to have an x minus 2. That's my common denominator. Okay, the common denominator is all three of those factors. I can't change one into the other, so I just have to do their product. Okay, now here's where it's a little bit tricky. X minus 4, x minus 5, what's missing? I have these two, I want these three, I'm missing the x minus 2. So I multiply x minus 2 here. I'm going to do it on the top as well. So this is actually going to be a FOIL. Let me write it here. X minus 2 times x minus 3. I'll FOIL that out in a minute. Over here, I have x minus 4, x minus 2. I'm missing x minus 5. So I've got to multiply this by x minus 5 and this by x minus 5. So this is going to be 2 times x minus 5. Okay, now let's combine our terms. X minus 4, x minus 5, x minus 2 is still my denominator. That's a 5 down an 8. X minus 5, x minus 2. All right, so I need to FOIL this out. That will be x squared. Minus 3x minus 2x is minus 5x. and then plus 6, plus, distribute this, 2x minus 10. All right, so I foiled this in my head in case you didn't know where that came from. Okay, combine your terms. That gives you x squared minus 3x, 6 minus 10 is minus 4, over x minus 4, x minus 5, x minus 2. Okay, now just for argument's sake, does this factor on the top? It probably does because of the double bubbles, or excuse me, the x squared. It might work. Let's see. Yeah, that'll factor. So x and x. How about minus 4 and plus 1? Over x minus 4, x minus 5, x minus 2. All right, do you see anything in common? How about the x minus 4s? They will cancel out. So your final answer for this will be x plus 1 in the numerator over x minus 5 times x minus 2. Now, you can leave it like that, or you can multiply out the denominator and get the trinomial, but it's fine to leave it like that. So this is your final answer right here. So if you can cancel something at the end, cancel it out. Okay, subtraction is especially hard for working these out because people forget to subtract the entire polynomial. When you're working these out, it's very important to make sure that your minus carries through the entire polynomial. Now, let's take a look at letter A here. We have common denominators, so we know it's going to be x squared minus 4. So, your common denominator of x squared minus 4, down here, this 3x plus 7 is already x squared minus 4. But this is minus this entire thing, so this is minus x plus 3. So that gives me 3x plus 7 minus through the entire thing, minus x minus 3 over x squared minus 4. Combine your terms. You get 2x plus 7 minus 3 is plus 4 over x squared minus 4. All right, now does that factor? Yeah, it does. 2x plus 4 factors is 2 times x plus 2. And x squared minus 4 factors by difference of squares, x plus 2x minus 2. So x plus 2 will cancel x plus 2, leaving 2 over x minus 2. And that's your final answer. Be very careful, make sure the minus carries through the parentheses. All right, now, common denominator for this one's a little bit tricky. Factor it first. Let's do that. X minus 3. This is going to factor by difference of squares, 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. All right, now to remember that this is actually minus 2, I'm going to rewrite this as plus negative 2 over, factor this, 5 times 2x plus 1. Okay, so now that I've got this all factored, and I move the minus up here so that I don't forget it, I'm going to find my common denominator. Okay, what's in both of these is 2x plus 1. All right, I have a 2x minus 1 here, so I need 1 over here. And I have a 5 here, so I need a 5 over here. So my common denominator is going to be 5 times 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1. Okay, now, what I need to do now is multiply by what's missing. This is 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. I'm missing the 5, so I have to multiply by 5 here, and I have to multiply by 5 here. So I'll put the whole thing here. 5 times x minus 3. Okay, over here, I have the 5 and the 2x plus 1. I'm missing the 2x minus 1. So I'll put the 2x minus 1 up here. And now I'm going to multiply negative 2 times 2x minus 1. All right, so combining my terms, keep my denominator, and multiply my numerators. 5 times x minus 3 is 5x minus 15. Carry the minus 2 through the parentheses. I get minus 4x, plus 2. All right, combine my terms. I get x minus 13 over 5 times 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1, and that's as far as I can go, I believe. All right, we'll try the next 2 in class, or next 3 actually, in class tomorrow.